Robert Durst. Robert Durst is an American real estate heir and the subject of several high-profile criminal investigations and trials. He was born on April 12, 1943, in New York City and is a member of the Durst family, a wealthy and prominent New York real estate dynasty. Durst first came to public attention in 1982 when his wife, Kathy McCormick Durst, disappeared from their home in New York. Her body has never been found, and Durst has been a suspect in her disappearance for many years. Durst has denied any involvement in her disappearance. Durst has also been linked to two other high-profile murders. In 2000, Durst's close friend Susan Berman was found dead in her Beverly Hills home. In 2015, Durst was arrested in New Orleans on charges related to Berman's murder. Additionally, in 2001, Durst was acquitted of the murder of Morris Black, a neighbor in Galveston, Texas, although he later pleaded guilty to related charges of evidence tampering and jumping bail. Durst's life and alleged crimes were the subject of the HBO documentary series, The Jinx: The Life and Deaths of Robert Durst, which aired in 2015. The series brought renewed attention to Durst's case and led to his arrest in New Orleans. Durst was subsequently extradited to California to stand trial for the murder of Susan Berman. In September 2021, he was convicted of her murder and sentenced to life in prison. How many crimes Robert Durst had committed? Robert Durst has been linked to three high-profile murders. His wife Kathy McCormick Durst in 1982, his close friend Susan Berman in 2000, and his neighbor Morris Black in 2001. He was acquitted of the murder of Morris Black in 2003, but later pleaded guilty to related charges of evidence tampering and jumping bail. In 2015, Durst was arrested in New Orleans on charges related to the murder of Susan Berman, for which he was convicted in September 2021 and sentenced to life in prison. Therefore, as of now, he has been convicted of one murder and has pleaded guilty to related charges in another case, but he has been suspected of involvement in multiple crimes. Why Robert Durst committed those crimes? The motivations behind Robert Durst's alleged crimes are not entirely clear, and Durst has never admitted to committing any of the murders. However, there have been several theories put forward as to why he may have committed the crimes. In the case of his wife, Kathy McCormick Durst, who disappeared in 1982 and is presumed dead, it has been suggested that Durst may have been motivated by a desire to control her or to prevent her from leaving him. Durst has denied any involvement in her disappearance, but there is evidence that he was abusive towards her and that she had told friends and family members that she was afraid of him. In the case of his friend, Susan Berman, who was murdered in 2000, prosecutors have alleged that Durst killed her to prevent her from revealing information about the disappearance of his wife. Berman had been a close friend of Durst's and had reportedly provided him with a false alibi during the investigation into his wife's disappearance. Durst has denied any involvement in Berman's murder. In the case of his neighbor, Morris Black, Durst has claimed that the killing was accidental and that he acted in self-defense. Durst had reportedly been living in Galveston, Texas, under a false identity at the time and had become involved in a dispute with Black over rent. According to Durst, he accidentally killed Black during a struggle over a gun. It is worth noting that the motivations behind Durst's alleged crimes are still the subject of debate and speculation, and he has never been found guilty of any crime until the recent conviction for Susan Berman's murder. How rich was Robert Durst? Robert Durst was born into a wealthy New York real estate family, and he inherited a substantial fortune from his father, Seymour Durst, who was a prominent real estate developer. While it is difficult to determine an exact figure for his net worth, some estimates suggest that his inheritance may have been worth hundreds of millions of dollars. In addition to his inheritance, Durst was also involved in various business ventures throughout his life, including real estate development and management. He has owned several properties throughout the United States, including a multi-million-dollar penthouse apartment in Manhattan. However, following his arrest and legal troubles, Durst's wealth has likely been significantly diminished. He has faced numerous legal fees and has been in and out of prison, which may have impacted his financial situation. It is also possible that any remaining assets he has may be subject to forfeiture or seizure as a result of his conviction for murder. How Robert Durst got caught. Robert Durst was arrested multiple times throughout his life, but his most recent arrest and conviction for murder came as a result of an investigation launched after the airing of the HBO documentary series, The Jinx, The Life and Deaths of Robert Durst. During the making of the documentary, Durst was interviewed by the filmmakers, and in one of the interviews, he appeared to confess to the murders of his wife, his friend Susan Berman, and his neighbor Morris Black. Specifically, in the final episode of the series, Durst was heard muttering to himself, "What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course." After the airing of the series, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office reopened the investigation into the murder of Susan Berman, and they subsequently arrested Durst in New Orleans on March 14, 2015, on charges related to that case. During his arrest, Durst was found to be in possession of a fake Texas ID and cash, leading authorities to believe that he was attempting to flee the country. Following his arrest, Durst was extradited to California to stand trial for the murder of Susan Berman. During the trial, prosecutors presented evidence linking Durst to the crime, including testimony from witnesses and the discovery of a letter that Durst had sent to Berman in a handwriting style that matched an anonymous letter sent to police after her murder. In September 2021, Durst was convicted of the murder of Susan Berman and sentenced to life in prison. The evidence presented during the trial, as well as Durst's own statements made during the HBO documentary, played a significant role in his conviction. What was the end of the Robert Durst crime story? As of September 2021, the Robert Durst crime story has come to an end with his conviction for the murder of Susan Berman. In September 2021, Durst was found guilty of first-degree murder for the killing of Berman, his friend and confidant, who was shot to death in her Los Angeles home in 2000. The prosecution argued that Durst had killed Berman to prevent her from revealing information about the disappearance of his wife, Kathy McCormick Durst. The trial included testimony from witnesses, as well as recordings of Durst made during the HBO documentary, The Jinx, in which he appeared to confess to the murders of Berman, his wife, and his neighbor Morris Black. Following his conviction, Durst was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Durst, who was 78 years old at the time of his conviction, had been in declining health, and his defense team had argued that he was too frail to withstand a long prison sentence. With Durst's conviction and sentencing, it appears that the long saga of his alleged crimes has come to an end. While there may continue to be discussions and debates about his motivations and his culpability in the murders, the legal system has spoken, and Durst will spend the rest of his life in prison.